In the sweltering summer, conditions got even worse. The heat, the lice, the flies, the dysentery, and the morale. Overcrowded trenches became ovens where men had to scour for water. Many sucked on rocks or wiped their lips with urine for a little moisture.
The only water we had to drink was limey, smelly, and bitter well water. If by any chance a little water was left in a cup, after a while a white, chalk-like sediment settled on the bottom. Lieutenant Munim Mustafa.
Tuesday, 20th of July. Today we began to sink a well on X Beach. This was really comical. Only a matter of hours ago we were sucking stones to quench our terrible thirsts, and today we're actually only a few yards from the water's edge with as much water as we want. A bit salty, but not nearly so salty as urine. Joe Murray.
One of the things that disgusted us most was the flies. My God, what annoying creatures. Thousands of flies attacked the food on our forks while we tried to eat. We couldn't swat them away, even with our hands. Munim Mustafa.
The flies went from the feces to the jam. Their flies came from the mouths and the open wounds of the dead to the jam, to the food, into their mouths, from the open latrines. And the flies spread disease.
In July and August, disease caused by flies was so rampant that both sides evacuated hundreds of men each week. George Bollinger spent most of July in Egypt, suffering from acute gastritis. By August, 80% of the men at Anzac had dysentery. Eventually, 20,000 Turkish soldiers would die of disease. Poor, monotonous diet compounded the illness. The Allies survived on bully beef, bacon, cheese, tea and sugar, biscuits and jam, almost always covered with flies. The bully beef and cheese melted in the heat and became inedible. The biscuits were so hard that one soldier claimed that he broke 7 teeth trying to eat them. Turkish soldiers lived on rice, pounded wheat, and flour soup. Any food cooked in the rear was cold by the time it reached the troops. Both sides rarely saw any fresh vegetables or fruit.
Oh, just a drop of vinegar, or a piece of sugar, or a bowl of salad. How wonderful they would be. Just to smell or even see these delicious condiments would be enough for me. Munim Mustafa.
The Turkish soldiers lived in squalor. Most of them had not been paid for months.
We know they had very little in the way of equipment. We know they had very little in the way of clothing. A lot of clothing got swapped around. Some men didn't have boots. They literally had bandages on their feet. We know the horses were mostly in very poor condition. But strange as it seems, the morale of the Turkish army was very good.